What a wild few weeks it's been. And if you've missed all this, count yourself lucky. Just go watch Angry Cop's video on it. Getting on Jocko was a thing I never thought that would happen, mainly because I'm not a Navy SEAL.
Did you feel pressure to hang?
Even his play rear naked, I wrote good, and then I crossed it out, and he goes, that's the one. Yeah. Oh, and I have to talk about this too. This happened because of it. You know, life is hard, especially hard when you're in high school. You're trying to figure out who you are. And so this teacher heard the podcast, and then he started this page for his students, and now these kids started this whole page where they just shared like signs of motivation or positive affirmations. You never know when you're doing things like what it will look like. And you know, I don't it doesn't have to be just veterans. Please, Lord, don't let it be just veterans or cops or whatever. Like, I just want people to have a message they want to share, and they can share it. And I've always been about that. This episode was sponsored by Medical. Every veteran deserves respect, competency, and clarity when pursuing a disability claim. Of course, we all know the frustration is much more common. If you're looking for a better path and documentation that strengthens your disability rating request, start with our sponsor, Medical. Re's team of professionals work with a network of experienced physicians, and they've already provided meaningful medical evidence for more than 25,000 veterans. And while they can't guarantee what the VA will decide, 95%, let me say that again, 95% of their clients reported receiving a disability rating of 70% or higher. That's because when you connect with Medical, they take the time to explain your options before you pay for anything. Free consultations. So don't give up on a stalled process or settle for an unfavorable decision from the VA. Cut through the frustration with accurate medical evidence and a streamlined approach that allows you to pursue your claim confidently. Head over to remedical.com, that's Romeo Echo Echo medical.com to book your free consultation. Check out our link in the podcast section for more details. Welcome to another edition of the After Action Podcast. I am Zachary Bell, your hopefully favorite veteran with a sign, joined today by the man, the myth, the legend, as always, the real talent here. Blas is on the mic and on the wheels. What a wild few weeks it's been. I wanted to first start this off by thanking everyone for being a part of this. This honestly means more to me and my family than you'll ever know. And so there's been a lot of stuff going on. This might not even be included in the episode, but just in case, I just want to take the time to address some stuff that's been happening. As you may or may not know, there's been a lot of stuff that's happening online. I don't really want to get into that. I just really want to get into this. I will now and forever support a veteran's rights to choose who helps them with their benefits. That does not mean that not for all companies are good, not all companies are bad. I'm not arguing that. My argument is that we need more options, not less. And currently, there are two bills. Keep in mind, I'm just a grunt. So is Blas. We're not geniuses here, but there are two bills. There's the GUARD Act, and then there's the PLUS Act. There's a lot of people who are in favor of the GUARD Act, which, in my opinion, restricts access to veterans' options and kind of creates a chokehold on veterans being able to choose who help them with their benefits, and it is their right to choose in an open and free and fair market. Who gets to help them do that? I'm not promoting anything predatory. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying that veterans should have the right to choose. And that is a bill that's being put forward. I don't know where it's at. I honestly got all my knowledge of bills from Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a bill. Like, that's all I know. I just know that there's that bill and there's also the PLUS Act. And so the PLUS Act, it kind of puts forward some like style of credentialing or different ways to verify this is a good company, this is a bad company, whatever, but it still gives veterans the right to choose. And that's basically it. That's where all of the controversy came from, is I've decided to take that stance. You know, many other people, friends of mine, have decided that's how they feel as well. And like, it really kind of comes back to like one really big topic that everyone seems to have overlooked or just hasn't been addressed. And maybe that's on me, maybe that's on the world. I don't know. The biggest thing that I see with all of the stuff that's happened and all the different things that have been said online is no one's really recognized one fact. The fact is an entire industry has developed because of this unprecedented issue that is happening with veterans trying to get their benefits, right? I'm not telling you to pick any one thing. I'm just telling you about options available to you, but not often ever in any industry, in any time during our country's history, have full industries come out of nowhere and been like, wow, this is a huge problem. We need to try and solve that problem. And so that's basically it. That's basically the long and short of it. I don't know where I stand with anything else. I just know that it has been a really long few weeks for my family and I. You know, my wife seen all the stuff that was online. You know, called me from an airport crying when she was coming home from a trip with our children. You know, over the fear and the very real reality that all the stuff that's been said about me, the direct attacks on my character, and everything else. I mean, you know, prior to me doing all of this, you know, I was doing stuff for a very, very long time, helping veterans organizations, for-profit, nonprofits. And, you know, I've said it in the podcast episode previous with Rich, you know, stuff I've done. And, you know, by no means was trying to be braggadocious or, you know, what's the right word?
I think that's right. Braggadocious.
I wasn't trying. I was just what I was trying to do was like establish like credibility. Like I've done this for like
nothing wrong with that.
One summer with the boot campaign when I'm still an ambassador for them. One summer I just went around and did push-ups like literally everywhere, like all over the country, raising money for veterans as a part of their push-ups for charity incentive. The next summer, I did another campaign. It was sponsored by Mike's Hard Lemonade. I remember this very well. I still had that backpack from it. And they had also paid for an advertisement with Deadpool, the first movie. So, like, I literally just went around, like, doing, like, fitness and stuff and, like, recorded a promo in Virginia Beach. None of this is to, like, really say anything other than I've been doing this a really, really long time. So when I look at resources and tools and stuff, it really comes from a place of just wanting to help. And just very, very selfishly, and I will always be this selfish, I just don't want to bury any more of my friends. Like, that's it. I can't do it anymore. Every time it happens, there's just something that happens to me, and I don't want to do it anymore.
I mean, it's also... I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. That's why you wanted to have this platform in the first place and creating this podcast.
Yeah. It all started from there. Like, it's just an expansion, you know, the veteran with assigned universe. Cause I am selfish in that. I just can't. You know, I worked for a long, long time with nonprofits and for-profits in this space. And like, my main thing I wanted to do is to treat it like a snow globe, shake it up and see what happens. And that's what Veteran with a Sign is. And this is an expansion of that. But like I mean this, every time I put somebody on the ground, a piece of me goes with them. And it's just the worst. So I never could have anticipated anything that's happening lately. I never could have anticipated the overwhelming support and just like belief, you know, in me and Blas and everything we're doing here and on the pages and stuff. Like you never know what's going to happen. It's the internet. Like I could have never anticipated everyone's like, no, this isn't the way to do this. And, you know, I do hope, I mean, this is really kind of like a historical document as how I see this podcast is. I'm really just, what's today's date? Today's date is May 13th, right? That's when we're recording this. It'll probably come out in a week or two. I don't know. It'll depend on what happens next. I hope all this goes away and I hope there's some sort of resolution. And I've done everything on my behalf to do that. And I've been very clear in everything that's been documented. And if you've missed all of this, count yourself lucky. Just go watch Angry Cop's video on it. It's on his channel. But
yeah, he does a full breakdown.
Yeah, he covers the whole timeline.
Yeah.
And if you're like, wow, he's really good in that. If you're like, wow, he's really good at that, just remember he's a detective. So like he literally like covers it from that perspective. And, you know, in general, I'm going to try to minimize this. I mean, I'm not minimizing the impact it's had on my family. It has not been easy. And, you know,
I'm sure a lot of other families were affected as well, too.
Yeah.
And that's not, I don't think that's you trying to just, you know, spotlight the issues that it's brought in you, but just as a whole, I mean, everybody involved.
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't been easy, you know? And I'm not gonna minimize that. I'm not gonna run from that. That's just it. All I really think about is that, if they'll do this to me, what will they do to you? What will they do to anybody? I'm nobody. I'm nothing special. I'm just a guy who used to walk around in a circle professionally. That's really it when you break it down. Checkpoint 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. That's it. That's literally it. Go walk there, turn around, come back. And I just wanted to help people find out about more resources available to them. My position is that people should have the right and the freedom to choose whatever thing that they want to help them to get the benefits that they deserve and need. That's it. If people are against that, then I'm not going to say I'm against you, but I'm against you removing that right. Historically, in any history book ever of any country of all time, whenever a government takes too much power, they don't tend to give it back. And I don't think an individual's right to choose should ever be taken from them in any capacity. We're pro-choice in that. I'm pro-choice in anything. Like liberty, give me liberty or give me death. So,
and that's where I think all of this went wrong in the first place. And again, I know you're just trying to touch on it lightly, but that's where it should have stood.
Yeah,
is the decision to either want this, either you're for this or not for this. It should have never turned into personal attacks,
which it 100% did towards me, not towards the organization that sponsors this podcast or anything else. It's literally just me. And, that's it. I hope, like I said, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm tired. Boss is tired. We're all tired. I'm not going to not publish stuff that was recorded 2 weeks ago. When Rich was here, that was, that's all part of it. It's all up there. But I am going to try to move past this because these are the moments where I think, like, this is why nobody wants to help veterans. Look at us. We're monsters. We're literally attacking each other. Like, over what? Because I said people should choose? Just because I said people should have more options, not less? That's literally the core issue here. That's all I said. People should have more options, not less. Because here's the thing. If you educate a market and you educate a consumer, they will pick whatever's option is best for them, right? That's all I'm saying. So, I don't ever question why, people don't want to help veterans. I know why. Look at us. We're the worst. When we're great, when we're good, we're great. When we're bad, we're the worst. That's literally it. Sometimes we can do amazing things, like getting, Ford to talk to Tyler and give him a brand new truck. That's like us at our peak. This is us at our valley. And I take whatever responsibility I can for that. And I will change whatever I can to be a better influence and to be a more shining light. And no matter what happens next, no matter what goes on, I promise you this, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I might be wrong, but I'll never tell you a lie. And let's move on to other stuff. Good? Are we good, Blas?
Yeah,
Have we covered it?
Yeah.
Yep. Listen, Blas said we got to move on. It's not up to me. He's in charge. So thank you so much for being here. If you're new, let's bring you up to speed. This is the After Action Podcast, your new favorite podcast, where veterans finally have a platform to talk about issues. Finally, a good veteran podcast. I'm kidding. There are many. The After Action Podcast, for any of you who just joined us, which there are a lot, is really this is just a place where I want to tell stories, and I wanted to try and have an expansion of the Veteran with a Sign universe. This is a canon event. This is like an arch, because the things that have happened are, people, since I started this, in 2020, people have been having more conversations with me in DMs or that's fine about other stuff. And, they kind of all hit the same buckets each time, who do you know who can help me with my benefits? What are some good veterans resources what are some good resources for veterans mental health? And what are some good nonprofits and things like that? So it's kind of all the same thing each time. And so I was like, yeah, let's expand, let's grow, let's talk about it. And, excuse me. And so this is just that expansion, because when we do this, we cut up clips that are juicy little appetizers, little potato wedges for your mind to kind of bring you in, to reel you in. But this is the longer narrative, the story form of this stuff. And it's literally just to try and tell different stories. And the very first story.
Let me stop you for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
The way I've kind of interpreted is you're essentially bringing these signs to life, right?
Yeah.
Like issues that you have that you post up on your Instagram or your social media platforms on a cardboard sign. Those issues are being talked about and addressed. So you're essentially bringing those cardboard signs and having those conversations in real life.
Yeah. This is why Blas is here. Like, not me. Let's just switch and get it over with. I'll come back there and break the computer. No, I mean, that's it. Like, there's more in the comments. There's more meat on the bone. I don't know, but like, I really just wanted to like highlight stories that are different. And so like, Blas is someone who's been in this space for a long time, worked with a very successful, project with Bussin' with the Boys, and is a veteran himself. And I don't know how to do this. I mean, we were setting all this up, and I was like, there's like 5 things I know to set up, and the rest of it is we call it Blas stuff.
It helps. It helps, though.
I do help, but I'm not. There's a whole thing I'm looking at. I would break it in a heartbeat. You have no idea how easily I can break it. So that's Blas stuff, and I stay over here in my lane. But it's just my only real talent in life is knowing what I know and knowing what I don't know, and then sourcing out subject matter experts. And so, we met. We had this like crazy lunch date, like at a burger spot. Like we're eating, chopping it up. Semper Sliders, which I miss desperately.
Same, bro.
Yeah,
same.
I miss it so much. Shout out Zach at Semper Sliders. He's one of the best. But we were there, and like a friend of mine drove up I hadn't seen in years. He's like, "What's up, dude?" And like just like the most broed out sesh. And and then he's like, there's this detective, Michael Colazzo, and we got connected because of Blas, and and we all like kind of like formed this like larger friend group. And then like Mike started getting approached about what happened at the Covenant School incident that he was a part of, him and Rex, the other officer. And Mike's like, what do I do? And I have a little bit of experience. I was like, go here, go there, do this, do that. It's just what I've done this for a little while. And he's like, I want to tell my story. And I was like, well, you've got a story. It's just your life's going to change. And so he's like, well, let's tell it on your podcast. And I was like, well, I don't really have one yet. So like, I don't really, you want me to like live stream it? Like, no. And he wanted to tell it. And it's, as far as like content goes, it's probably the thing that I'm most proud of that I've been a part of in a long time. Not because of anything I did or anything like that, but just that we were able to create a space where he could, speak and share his truth without me trying to, or us, I should say, without us like trying to be like,
essentially using him.
Yeah. I just like, there's like a whole 30 minutes, I feel like, where I don't talk, and I'm like super proud of that, where he's just like, he's talking through the day, because it's his story to tell. It's like, it's something he's still going through at this time, and, that was just it. We just started there, and away we went. And it's really just been kind of on this path now to where I don't know. The podcast continues to grow, and it continues to be something that like I like doing. I look forward to. It's a labor of love for sure. This is hard. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Blas knows it too. It's hard because like I always say, like, when you create content, it's like you have a secret and then you tell the world, and then you hope they don't hate your secret. But you made it in like a place where you're like, okay, this will be fun. But the flip side of that, oh, look, they're singing your song.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Come save us. Now, the flip side of content, people don't know. I'll wait. Nashville, whatever.
It's either that or party buses.
Yeah, whatever. Hey. Now, the flip side of that people don't know is that it's all, the one secret of content is this: the stuff that you care the least about, lowest lift, lowest effort, will for sure do the best. But you won't know it at the time you're doing it. You'll be like, that took me 3 seconds. It's just me being like, boop, 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 and then But if you like dig in and look at lighting and stuff, you never know. You never know. I don't know how that works. It's like the algorithm on every platform knows, like,
you tried too hard.
You tried too hard. Stop, dude. Stop. You should have just made a joke about boot camp. Yeah. Like, you should have just done something like that. But No, and we've been lucky to tell some stories, and we're going to continue to tell some stories. And like, so much has happened that I never thought possible, you know. Hope you guys are enjoying the episode. If you want to continue to hear more stories like this and to help us grow the podcast, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and to also drop a rating and review. Every bit helps. Thank you so much. Now let's get back to the episode. You know, getting on Jocko was a thing I never thought that would happen. You know, mainly because I'm not a Navy SEAL, but no, he's an incredible guy. When I look at someone who's like transcended the military veteran space in a positive way, who's having like a real resounding effect towards like even American culture as a whole, I look towards him. And let me be clear, I'm the first person to say like I don't worship at the feet of Navy SEALs. I just that's just not me. And I have nothing against him or anything else. Like, but like I look at Jocko in particular as someone who's I remember when I was in business school and I heard business school nerds say discipline equals freedom, and I was like, where did you hear that? Tell me where you heard that. And they're like, Jocko. And I was like, how do you? It felt like someone saying my language. And like, you know, because like you'll be and you catch it, and you're like, whoa, hey, where'd that come from? Where'd you get that? You know what I'm saying? And you hear it, and it's interesting to see our culture, bleed into that. And so, you know, when that came about because of Ryan Mannion at the Travis Mannion Foundation. You know, she was at Army-Navy game, and we were actually recording that day with Nora, who I'm grateful to have, but I couldn't travel to the Army-Navy game in general this past year. And I was tired, but she was like texting me, and she's like, "Hey, I'm talking to Jocko about you." And I was like, "Whatever," like, well, because I was a little sad. I was a little sad seeing all my friends at the Army-Navy game. I hear it's a great time. Have you gone?
No, and I was just about to tell you, like, we need to find a way out there.
No, I think we're gonna make it happen this year. Yeah. But I'm planning on doing it this year. I'll put it that way. Yeah. We're planning on doing it this year. I'm gonna find a way, but. She was like, I'm talking to Jocko about you. And I was like, no, you're not. Like, how could that be happening? That's crazy. And then I literally said that, and a few minutes later, she sends me a photo of them like hanging out. And I was like, that's what's up. Like, she's really cool.
Did you ever think that podcast was going to go 3 hours? Like, did you feel pressure to hang for 3 hours?
With J-Dubs? Yeah. My boy, my best friend? Yeah.
No. Because when you go, like, let's be honest, that's easily a top 5 podcast across all platforms.
It's such a big deal that I was in Disney with my family, and then I was like, oh, I'm tired, and we hadn't told anybody this. We hadn't told anybody we were doing. I think you knew it, and like 4 other people. And I had to leave early, and I was talking to one of the dads I've known for a while, and he's like, "What's up, man?" I was like, "I got to leave early tomorrow." He's like, "Why? Where are you going?" And I was like, "I'm going to San Diego." He's like, "What are you doing in San Diego?" And I was like, all right, man. I was actually trying to avoid the conversation because I'm really, really big on like when I'm around my kids, it has to be about them, and I go out of my way to do that. Like, I don't like to talk about internet, Zach. That's lame. Like, they're my children. It's my job to be their father, and that's how I want them to know me. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I'm going to record Jocko, and he's like, you're fucking going to record Jocko. Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And my wife was like, yeah, he's like going on his podcast. He's like, I know what it is. It's a big deal. And she was like, oh. And so like, that was like the first, and that's what I'm talking about. He has permeated all levels of culture. And so to get it and to be in that room, it didn't feel like 3 hours. You know, I had some Jocko fuels. I had some Mulk. I had a few fuels. I just sat down and talked about my favorite subject, me. No, that's the point of the podcast. It's my least favorite subject, but you know, it's weird because the table's not much bigger than this, and he's a big boy, yeah. And then Echo's right here, and so I had to puff up. I took a scoop of creatine just to blow up before I got in the room, and then you're literally just sitting down. There's like knives and stuff, and it's just. And then I had this weird thought. I was like, no one will see this, but this is crazy. I'll just be in black and white, yeah. But in this moment, like I just really wanted to show up. Like, because it's not lost on me how incredible it was. It's how that's awesome. I'm not going to say how many plays it gets. It's a lot. It's scary how many like millions of people listen to it. I can say that.
As they should.
And like he has so many incredible stories, way more cooler stories than mine. but like it's the first thing I've ever done. It's where I'm like, that's wild that happened. And, you know, my wife was so incredible because it came right up to Valentine's Day and she was very, very incredible in understanding that. But like, you know, it was just, I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where I was like, we're done. And he's so cool. He's so cool. He was like in board shorts and flip flops. And, you know, he really did lock in that rear naked. I was like, hey, we're playing. We're playing. He's like, you want to roll? And I was like, no, I don't. I'm not. No. I'm not
No,
going to get
clearly out.
I'm not going to get balled out. I'm going to get balled up by it. He's like, no, I'll go easy. Like, you know, and I'll be honest, my jiu-jitsu mind was like, I kind of want to do it. I kind of want to, because I know he'll just toy with me.
But then you remembered you had a family.
I did remember I had a family. And that even his play rear naked, which it was his idea. I'll say this too. Like I wrote good, which is his thing. And then I was like, I don't like the way it looks. Something about the way it looked when I wrote it, I didn't like it. And then I crossed it out and he goes, that's the one. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Because if I'm holding it up and I'm saying good and then you're choking me and it's very obviously him choking me.
Yeah.
Like he understands it too. Yeah. Like he even said in the podcast, he's like, they're just handwritten memes. And I was like, oh, easy, buddy. Like,
yeah. You know, I loved how he opened up by reading some of your most like, I don't know, like what he thought were like, you know, iconic memes or
which is funny. Which is funny to think that he's like scrolling and stuff. Yeah. Oh, and I have to talk about this too, because this happened because of it. There's a school, C10 student with a sign. And so this teacher heard the podcast and then he started this page for his students. And now these kids started this whole page where they just shared like signs of motivation or positive affirmations. It's somewhere in California. I can't remember all of it, but like I just started sharing them. And, you know, life is hard, especially hard when you're in high school. You're trying to figure out who you are as a young man or young woman, and growing up trying to figure out what that looks like for you. But like these kids just sharing all this stuff, tagging, he like gave them this project, and now they've like really like leaned into this whole idea. And like the coolest part about it is like I put it up, and I remember I tagged Jocko in a few of them. I was like, this is really cool. And then he wrote me back. He's like, that is cool. I'm really proud of you, brother. And I was like, all right, stop. Like, it's not me. It was just like the effects. Cause you never know when you're doing things like what it will look like. And, you know, I don't like, it doesn't have to be just veterans. Please, Lord, don't let it be just veterans or cops or whatever. Like, I just want people to have a message they want to share and they can share it. And I've always been about that. But to see that could happen where these like, and not kids, but these young adults, or almost adults, some of them probably are like doing this stuff where they're like, yeah, this is something I want to say, or this is how I feel. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, those are the moments where I'm like, you know, maybe I'm not an idiot. Maybe there is something here. I don't know. But then I go back and I'm like, I'm kind of dumb. But no, I couldn't thank everyone enough for that. And like, I don't, you know, life's just a moment. Lately, life is just moments that I can't believe are happening and that I get to be a part of, you know, from my kids growing up to, you know, the things that are happening, you know, professionally or personally. And I'm just trying to be the best advocate I can for myself, my family, and for our community. And I will always do that. Those are the best of my abilities, you know, and I might be wrong, but I'll never lie to you. And that's okay. And if I'm wrong, I'll apologize. I apologize a lot. Like, I've messed up. I've been wrong before. Y2K, big miss, okay? Big miss on Y2K. I thought it was going to happen. I was ready. It didn't happen. I do remember them scaring us a lot. They're like, computers go to zero. Be like, oh no, what happens?
There was like Time articles on that.
Do you remember that? Like, it was terrifying.
Yeah, it was a big thing.
Or like, what was the other one after that? Not Y2K. What was the other one? The Mayan calendar.
Oh, the Mayan calendar.
Which is crazy when you think about it. So people, I don't know how many thousands of years ago, they're cutting up rocks, and then that's what we're going by. But the fear mongering, I don't know. It's just that's the stuff. Like, we've been through a few events. I don't want to sound like an old boomer meme page, but like I could handle like a few soft years. You know what I mean? Just like some.
Dude, yeah. Y2K.
Hit him.
The Mayan calendar, 9/11, two wars.
Two wars
that stemmed from that, you know, the possibility of World War III, like
2 more
a
wars.
global pandemic. Like,
Yeah.
man.
Like I'm tired, boss. like it just
I ain't got no worry left.
I don't know. A big part of me is like, what if I just went out to the woods, put on overalls, and never look back? That is where I'll wind up. Like I will like wind up like having a farm, and I hope no one knows who I am, and like I'll just wear overalls every day. I'll have a nice tractor with a bush hog, and like zip lines over a lake for my grandkids. That'll be it. But I don't know. We're going to continue to try and do everything we can. This episode is going to be short this time because I just wanted to kind of touch on everything and thank everyone for being here. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, hit up the Instagram page, the After Action Pod, or just Veteran with the Sign. We're going to continue to keep pushing. Like I want to continue to tell these stories, and I like it. It's fun. This is the hardest thing I've done, though. This is it's much more than just dudes talking.
But also too, like if you're out there and you have questions, and again, like I'm sure you have a ton of DMs that you're still backed up on and trying to get to. Am. If you have something that you want to discuss, make a video.
Yeah.
Do a selfie video, ask your question. We'll throw it in the podcast. We'll answer it. Like
we might do solos. We'll do so. I would love to do a bunch of solos. If you got questions, comments, concerns, you send them this way. We'll put them on. We'll be like this past weekend, but with more brain injuries. Like it won't be nearly as entertaining as what Mr. Vaughn puts out, but we'll try our best. We'll try our very best. And like, I don't know, you're a part of this as much as we are. Like I'm, we're trying to do the best we can. Like we really, really are. Everything, this all comes from a labor of love because like ultimately whatever we do here echoes through eternity. No, I mean, ultimately I just want this to be different and positive for the community and like something it's got, I don't know. I don't want to look back on this in a few years and be like, did I really? That's.
Well, let's talk about like where do you want to see the podcast go? Like how do you envision this? Like all play like big picture. Like is this something is this something like where you're gonna want to eventually host events where we bring these people together?
Yeah.
Whether it's for charity or just again like touching the people who are supporting the channel, but also that need help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like it. This is going to be the dumbest thing I've ever said publicly. I'd like it to be like the Joe Rogan of veteran stuff. But like what he does that I've always liked the most is he talks to whoever he wants to. And that's kind of where I'm expanding it. Like this will always have like a base in the military veteran world for sure. Cause that's the community that we both come from. But like, I can't talk to veterans forever. What's the point realistically? It's just another veteran podcast. That's not a negative. It's just like, how do we expand? And
let's be clear. I mean, veterans aren't the only ones with issues.
No, yeah. Like, it's
problems.
just kind of, we got problems. We got problems. If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. Stop. Sorry, don't flag us. No, it's just, we're like this. We're like in a box the whole time. We're always like this. And then when people try and be a part of our box, we're like, get away. You don't know what it's like to wear your name on your shirt. I'm like, calm down. Like, we have to expand. Like, that's why people look at the Greatest Generation, the World War II group. They came back and they were like, yeah, we're a part of this together. Let's make America the best. Let's, go to the moon. Let's do whatever. Let's do what we got to do to be on top. And like, they were integrated into real American culture. We can still do that. Like, we self-isolate and we medicate and self-elevate when we shouldn't. We're not better. No one's better than anyone else or anything else. When you think about it, we just have like really crazy experiences at different people. But like ultimately, if we're not able to like move that forward, like we're missing out on the opportunity to be a positive change for like generations to come. I mean, like when you move into like veteranness, I think your big thing should be like trying to build a foundation for that group to come after you, to be able to, transition easier, have access to benefits easier, learn about opportunities and things like that. Like that should be the goal. Like each generation's done that in their own way. And we haven't really tapped the service, in my opinion, as post 9/11 veterans of what we should really be able to do in the sense of like making life easier for veterans to get jobs, to get benefits, to get access to school or things like that. Like we need to be the ones who are like, nah, this is what you have to do because we're okay at it, but we could be doing so much more, you know? I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I mean, when I think about it, like, and I look at this podcast, I want it to be, you know, one where, like you said, you touch more than just veterans because we're not the only ones with issues. Like,
No, we're not.
I mean, you have other professions there that, you know, are dealing with stuff, you know, inside their organization and outside their organization, like PTSD, all that stuff that just doesn't exist in the veteran community. Like, you know, traumatic brain injuries. Those are things that just don't exist inside this community. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
But one thing that I hope that comes from this podcast is and this is just for the veteran community personally, because we're both somebody who have experienced the transition coming out of the military into the real world or the civilian world. I'd like to make that transition easier.
Yeah.
For people.
It's so hard. It's an absolute nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. And I'm not even trying to like exaggerate. So I'll tell a story. I told it on Jocko. This is the best example of it. So I got out 2011 when the GWAT was hot and coin was cool. And not far from here, there's a hotel. I don't want to name them, but I went and applied for a job as a security guard. 6 months prior to this, I was about 6 months. I was in Afghanistan. I was in Afghanistan, leading troops in combat as an infantry squad leader. Directly under me, I had 12 Marines and sailors, one sailor that reported to me, and about that many Afghan soldiers. So under 30, it varied. Some days it would be more, some days it would be less. Leading them in combat from patrol bases, doing the whole thing, right? Security at a hotel, easiest job in the world, right? I went in there and I interviewed for it. It was one of my first interviews I'd ever done. And I had actually studied stuff on YouTube to like learn how to do a good interview as a veteran. And there wasn't really a lot of stuff. I was just like, I'll just go in there and try and be me and whatever. And I go in to meet this young lady and I do the interview and it's going really well. It was weird because like I sat like this. And she was here at her desk and I was just, so I kept turning. It was the most awkward interview I've ever done. I've never had one like this where I would have to be like, yeah, and she'd be like, so tell me some examples of when you were blah, 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 like some challenges you faced. Well, here's the thing, like, it was just me doing that I should have sat in front of her, but obviously this was her first job too. And at the end of it, she goes, well, thank you so much for your time, blah, blah, blah. And I go, you have any questions for me? I always did this. I've always done this. Do this if you're interviewing. Well, how do you think I did? I'd love to follow up with you afterwards so we can learn more about the position. You always follow up. That's it. Like in the room, you always follow up. And then this is another pro tip. A friend of mine, Alex, let me do this. You then write them a handwritten letter and drop it off that day in a mailbox. It'll be stamped that day. And nothing resounds more in any form of communication than a handwritten letter on good paper, good hard paper that's got some like bend to it. You know what I'm saying? They sell it anywhere. It's literally called resume paper. That's how you rizz up a job.
Here's another one.
Go.
And this is something that I used. You always ask them about their job.
Yeah.
Put them on the hot seat.
Oh yeah.
If I were to take your job tomorrow, what were 3 things you would want me to know before I took that and how I can succeed and make it better?
Yeah.
Floored every time.
Look at this.
I mean,
veterans helping veterans right now.
You say that?
Yeah.
And they're just like, whoa,
this guy, whoa.
Sit back. And now you put them on the hot seat.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Hernandez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, right, like if you're in that industry or you're applying for that company, like not it'll show you one who's at the top. Like who the person interviewing you is obviously in a position to or has been trusted to hire the next so-and-so to take so-and-so's position or vice versa. Like, you obviously are looking for a good character, a good employee, this, that, and the other. Well, you get to see who you're working for. You get to see who this person is hiring, how they're valuing people, what their thought process is. Because if you can't answer that simple question, like maybe that's an organization that I probably do not need to be a part of, unless I'm just trying to buy some time, get a paycheck, get myself on my feet, but ultimately know that, like, hey, I'm not going to be here forever. Like, I gotta have an exit strategy. By asking that question, you're gonna get some of those answers, you know. But at the same time, too, it's a way for them to be like, damn, like, this guy,
he's for real.
Yeah,
he's for real, for real. Yeah, I hadn't even, and this was just the HR lady. So I was just trying to, and the goal with the first interview is to get the second interview. And so, and I agree with that 100%. That's really, really awesome advice. That's what you give, like, the decision maker, whoever's like the manager. But I didn't, spoiler alert, I didn't make it that far. She looked at me and she goes, well, I regret to inform you that you are not qualified for this position. And I literally started melting down as I'm looking away from her. She still hasn't looked at me the whole time. I'm looking this way and she's facing that way. Worst interview I've ever done. It's a hotel in Nashville, a very famous hotel for a lot of other reasons. You can look it up. Anyways, so I did that and I started, I literally started pulling my tie and I go, what do you mean? Then I turned and I go, what do you mean? She goes, you're not qualified for any position. I was like, for security in the hotel? And she goes, you don't have any real security experience. I go, what?
Damn.
I go, less than a year ago, I was in Afghanistan in God's most austere environment, leading troops in combat. More people than I would even be directly responsible here. Half of them didn't even speak English, but I don't have any security experience. What do you mean? She goes, well, I go, no, tell me again. Please tell me, because you're saying that I can't do that. I can't make sure the Titans get here on time on Saturday for check-in? How can that be? I've seen the people here. One guy was asleep up front. And she was like, well, and I was like, you know what? I'm out. Like, it was not good. It was not good. It was not like, I just like left. And like, I went in my car and I thought about crying. Like, I felt like a complete failure because at that point I had turned down a re-enlistment package prior to that, a literal package that was going to give me like $30,000. I had flushed a career down the toilet because I was E5 in 4 years and change, which doesn't happen in the Marine Corps. And like, I was like well on a path to like have a very successful military career. And I'm here back in America. And the only thing I'm told that I knew that I was for sure good at, I wasn't qualified for. I think about that day all the time because there was nowhere to go. There was no one I knew to call and there was nowhere to turn. There was no hire for heroes or any of the stuff that exists now or any of that stuff. And like, when we talk about like making things easier, like I don't want anyone to have to go through that. Yeah. That was hard. I got through that moment because of my wife, because of my kids, because of my mother-in-law rearranging her whole house and letting us live there, for my father-in-law for giving me a job, doing construction.
Man, just treading water at that point.
I was like, dude, brother, I was working construction with him because there was a flood in Nashville that happened. So there was a ton of flood repair for years. I was working construction with him. Most of the stuff we did was demo. And so I would then take copper that was used in these buildings, and then I would then burn it in my mother-in-law's backyard. And then I would put it into a bag, and then I would take that to the place off of, off of Briley Parkway. You know what I'm talking about? The dump. Mm-hmm. It's, you've probably done investigations there. It's like where a bunch of stolen stuff winds up. But I would go there, wait 7 days, and I would use that money that would then pay for like my bills and everything else. While my veterans benefits were not where they should have been. And I did that for months until I was able to get one job working at a local hospital here. And I would go to school full time during the day. I would sleep in my car for a few hours. I would go for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I would go to school from 8 to 12. And then I would sleep in my car from like 12 to 3. I would then work out from like 3:30 to 5:30. And then I would drive from Murfreesboro back to downtown Nashville. And I would work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I did that for 3 years. Still picking up construction gigs on the weekends, doing security jobs on the weekends, stripping copper, doing everything I could just to pay bills. And I don't want anybody to ever have to do that. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, looking back on it. I only saw my family once a week for a long time. And there was no resources. There was no, this is what you do. Everything I found, I instantly told every friend about it. Every single thing I found, I told everyone I do. Check out the Semper Fi fund. What about this? You should do this. You should do that. Like anything I found, the instant, I was yapping.
Yeah, man. And that's what
that's what sucks is that I did that. So that's what we're trying to do now. I'm going to yap some more. We're going to yap some more. You know what I'm saying?
And like I said, that's exactly what I see. And I hope that happens out of this podcast is like just highlighting those resources, man. Cause there is not a book for this stuff.
No, there's not.
I mean, unless you know somebody who's gone through, a similar situation or who has come in contact with an organization that's helped. And I say that because when I sat at that table with you at lunch, there was so many things and so many different programs that I learned about just by sitting at that table around other veterans who had navigated the waters that I just started to.
Yeah. It's like swimming in the dark. In the deep end of the ocean. You're just like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah.
And then like, you just have to like, and I always think about this, like veteran with the signs, like I'm a disruptor. I'm an agent of chaos or I don't know what the exact word is. I just think it should all be free form and people should know everything, like if you or anyone is in need of assistance, text or dial 988. That needs to be out there. People need to know that. If you are a veteran or military member and you are falling on tough times, you're not sure where to turn, check out the Semper Fi Fund. They're called America's Fund now, but I'll always call them Semper Fi. They help all branches. They literally kept, when benefits closed down, when the government shut down for months, they took care of me and my family and other families when there was no other option. You should look into them, things like that. That's the stories we're going to tell. That's the things we're going to do. It's the best I can do. That's the best we can do, and we'll always try and do that.
Yeah, and if you're an organization that's doing stuff like this for the veteran community and we don't know about you, please reach out.
Yeah, come forward, please. So yeah, that's this solo thing. Maybe we'll do more of them. I think it'll be fun, especially having input from all of you. Thank you all so much for being here, and from the bottom of my heart and from my family, thank you for supporting all of us. I don't take a second of this for granted. I never will. Love you, mean it.